All right, Shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, our Chakudash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders up in Great Millstone who ruled well and taught us this truth. And the sincere peace and salutations to all the Akim pushing this word and truth and in all sincerities. The brother Ganar from DC Church coming back at you with another video. And Lord's will, this video is not going to be long either. Lord's will, I was thinking of the title in this video, Get Thee Betimes Unto Him. And it's basically, an admonishment to the younger brothers, brothers coming into this truth, brothers that's, just coming around, don't really know much of how we conduct ourselves. And we're at the end. We're at the end where times have sped up to it's not like when we first came in, in 2000 in 2014, when that influx came in, certainly not when, our elders came in 07, 08, but, we had the time to, sit down and, really be groomed by our elders, with time now is speeding up, to, you got to get it at a different pace, than we have. So this is just a bit of an admonishment, advice, so to speak, for the younger brothers. It was just something I was reading over. I just wanted to put it on wax real quick. This is Sirach 6 and 34. It says, stand in the multitude. Hold on. Sirach 6, really you want to read from 19, because it's talking about wisdom, and becoming that prisoner of wisdom, and when you allow yourself to be in her bonds, after, because she's going to try you, she's going to put a lot of things on you when you come into this truth. And it's a younger brother in the church, in DC, where I've been imploring him to read Sirach the 6th chapter, because, it's trials that, you're not going you're not really going to be ready for. It's something that's going to try you. You're going to start to learn who you really are. You're going to start to learn your true strength in this truth. So it's going to be things that you're going to have to go through in order to obtain a higher level of wisdom, right? And that's what Sirach, the 6th chapter, starting at like 19 on down, is going into. But if you really are worthy, if you're really one of those men, then wisdom is going to shine. You know, wisdom is going to shine. And you're going to be able to wear her, like a golden ornament, like I say. You're going to be able to flex. You know, because you're going to shine with wisdom. But I wanted to get. I'm gonna start at 32 though. It says, "My son, if thou wilt, thou shalt be taught, and if thou wilt apply thy mind, thou shalt be prudent." You know, so it's something that you gotta shift your mind to, man. If you will be taught. Because you got men, you got brothers, that's set up to guide you. Starting with our elders and apostles of Great Millstone, starting with the bishops. Then you got the regional heads, you got the camp heads, and you got the second in command, third in command. You got your elders, you got your officers. You have a whole infrastructure, set up in the spirit. Men that's walked this walk before you. You know, and men that can guide you, in the spirit. But it's on you. It's on you, because sometimes you're gonna come across a man that's not, too subtle. You're gonna like the scriptures talk about the froward man. you know. And do he become his enemy because he tell you the truth? Nah, man, you're gonna have to transform. It says, if thou love to hear, thou shalt receive understanding, and if thou bow thine ear, thou shalt be wise. You see, and that makes me think of James Shalaki 1:19. It says, wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to wrath, and slow to speak. You know, you want to be swift to hear. You know, you want to be swift to hear. Let me get this. Let me find this scripture real quick. Let me get that again. James 1:19. It says, wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. You know, and it's truth. You want to be swift to hear. You know, you want to soak up as much knowledge as you can. And this is the scripture I just looked up. Sirach 7:14. It says, use not many words in the multitude of elders, and make not much babbling when thou prayest. But the point is not using too much words when you amongst men that's much older than you, men that's been doing this. Because how you gonna get the knowledge? How you gonna get the wisdom if all you're doing is talking when you're around the men that got it, the men that been through this, the men that's been walking and doing this, man. You know, our apostles been pushing this work for 35, 40 years. I'm not even that age yet, you know. Some of us been around 10, 11 years, and and, and a lot of you guys, you know, a lot of the youngest, you haven't been around long enough to even know what this is about, you know. So how are you gonna get it if you're talking, you know? So the point is, you know, you gotta use less words, right? I'm gonna read that scripture again back in Sirach the 6th chapter. It says, "If thou love to hear, thou shalt receive understanding," and that's what this is about, man. You know, understanding. Um, I just lost my train of thought. It says, "Thou shalt receive understanding." It says, "If thou shalt bow thine ear, thou shalt be wise." You know, it says, "Stand in the multitude of the elders and cleave unto him that is wise." You know, you want to stand in the multitude of the elders so that you can soak up that knowledge, man, so that you can prepare yourself for that wisdom. Isaiah 33:16. You know, that oil, as that parable was talking about in Matthew's the 25th chapter with the 10 virgins. You know, you want to soak up that oil, you're going to get it from the elders. Isaiah 33:6, it says, "In wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure." Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of your time. So you want to gain as much wisdom as you can, you know, to be stable in the times to come, which is like never seen before. You know, the times that's coming is never seen before. You know, hell is approaching us, man. You know, they talk about make America great again, and every single promise that Trump has given this place, it has shown itself to be a lie. You know, so the people have had enough. You know, the economy is shot. Gas prices is through the roof. Groceries is through the roof. Mortgage is through the roof. Rent is through the roof. Car notes is through the roof. You know, taxes are going up. You know, people pay is not going up. People are struggling. People are struggling to feed their children. You know, wars is getting hotter and hotter. You know, Iran got tricks up their sleeve. Russia's got tricks up their sleeve. You know, North Korea, China. You know, everybody got tricks up their sleeves, and America and Israel is walking around like the big bully. The point is, things can happen just like that, man. So now you want to get the B times unto the elders, which means early, you know, because a lot of brothers that's coming in that's super young, you just don't know it yet. You don't know the things that you need to know, and the only way you're gonna know it is if you get around your leaders. You know, be present and be quiet. That is the best advice anybody can give you right now. Continuing on, it says, stand in the multitude of the elders and cleave unto him that is wise. Be willing to hear every godly discourse, and let not the parables of understanding escape thee. So you're gonna have to hear, learn, meditate, and study on the things that's being told to you, man. You know, so in this class, you know, you got to be locked in. Your notebook should be filled. You know, I think everybody in my class that came in, you know, we all had journals and notebooks full of notes. You know, full of notes, man, through and through. You know, of all the things that our elders have taught us, man. You know, it says, and if thou see a man of understanding, get thee betimes unto him, and let thy foot wear the steps of his door. You know, get thee betimes unto him, meaning early, man. You want to get there early with your mouth closed and your ears open. With your mouth closed and your ears open, you know, and soak up everything that he's saying, and don't let it escape thee. It says, let thy mind be upon the ordinance of the Lord, and meditate continually in his commandments. He shall establish thine heart, and give thee wisdom at thy own desire. He's going to give you wisdom at your own desire, man. So how much you desire wisdom is how much wisdom you going to get. So how much you apply yourself is what you going to get out of it, man. Times unto the men that is teaching you, man. Proverbs 1:5, it says, a wise man will hear and increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. You know, so it's just a quick admonishment to the younger brothers, something that just was on my spirit to put out there. You know, Lord's willing, this was edifying to the brothers. Lord's willing, you know, brothers that are a part of the elect, you know, receive this and grow, you know, through the spirit as we're almost out of here, man. You know, so that wisdom and knowledge that we need is going to keep us stable in the times that's coming. And the times is coming real soon, man. We don't know when this shit gonna pop off, but we know it's gonna pop off soon. But that's it, man. You know, I don't wanna you know, ramble, say too much. You know, the point was made. Until the next one, we'll give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Marukakadash, and double honors to our apostles, elders of the great millstone, rule well. Shalom to the elect.